Hello, today we're going to be naming angles and work with adjacent angles. So our goal is I can name or identify an angle using three different notations. I can identify an adjacent angle to one that is given if it exists. So let's look at this single angle. We see point A, point C, and point T. And it says this angle can be named in three ways. Angle, the symbol, ACT, which we just talked about, or we could start at T and move what I'm going to call backward, TCA, or because there's just one angle, we could call it angle C. That's the only angle we see in this diagram. Now let's look at the other diagram. A little bit more complicated, not terrible, but there's more going on. So the very first one, if we trace it, F to R to E, they mentioned, or we could call it ERF, same angle, just different order. Then we could go from E to R to D, or D to R to E. What's important is R is in the center because it's a vertex. And finally, sometimes this is hard to see because you see the two smaller angles, but we could go F to R to D. Those outside lines are considered an angle as well. Or we could go D to R to F. Or we could just call this angle R. And you'll notice that the only angle that gets to be called R is the outer rays. So angle R. I think these might be a little bit more clear, but again, you could call the big arch angle R. So going from here to here if we wanted to arc it. All right, so let's look at the practice problems. So we're going to do one together and you're going to do two on your own. So I'm going to start this by using the angle symbol, and I'm going to go from D to O to N. Or, again, using the angle symbol, I could start at N, then go to O, and then to D. Or I could just call it, since there's a single angle, I just call it angle O, named for the vertex. Would you please complete the next two examples? When you're done, please start the video again and we'll go on to three angle drawings. All right, if you check and if you need to make any corrections, that's fine. It happens that both of these had a vertex point of E, so both of them were angle E, but yet they're different angles. Now we're going to move on to our three angle drawings. So they're going to ask us to draw name three angles again. So this time I'm going to start with the outer angle. I'm going to start with F to I to D, the larger outside angle. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to do F to I to the interior angle, N, and then I'm going to start at that N, go back out to I, and go to D. That's just my personal preference. I could have called it DIN as well. So would you please do the next two examples? Please replay this video when you're done and make any corrections if needed. All right, so what's important for the second series is that A is in the center of all of them. And for the third one, P is in the center of all of them. Now, you might have written APN while I wrote NPA, but it's the same angle and it's okay to reverse order, but P, the vertex, must be in the center. So you're going to notice now it says name 6 angles. So this is going to be a little bit more complex, not terrible, but they're more kind of hidden angles. So let's start this example. My personal preference, and that you do not have to do it the same way I do, is I like to start with the outside angle. I see N to A to E. So I think now I'm going to try to write all the little angles. So I'm going to start with N, then I'm going to go to A, and then I'm going to go to G. And now the angle next to that, I'm going to go G to A to L, and I'm going to go underneath that to L to A to E. So I have all the little angles represented. So there's two more angles, and sometimes those might be a little bit hard to spot. But if we go from N to A and we already have E, N to A to G we already have, so N to A to L. So that's one that's missing. N to A to L. And then if we look to see what else is missing, if we go from E to A to L, well, we already have that one represented here. And if we go from E to A to G, we do not have that one represented. So we're going to go from E to A to G. Or you could call it G to A to E. Doesn't matter. So now I'd like you to try the next group. Again, you're going to name 6 different angles, that second example, and then check back when you have it finished. All right, and let's notice that on this drawing, every single one should have L as its vertex. And again, you could write, for instance, the first one says PLE, you could have it as ELP. As long as that L's in the middle, we're good. Thanks so much, and have a great afternoon.